Hello and welcome to Baba Eats, where I make healthy meals for the whole family, including my toddler. Today, I'm going to be showing you how I make my own nut and seed butters at home. I recently did a video showing how I introduced nuts to my toddler, starting with nut butters and moving all the way up to whole nuts. So if you're interested in how to introduce nuts to a baby or toddler, check out that video. My daughter is almost 2 now, and she really enjoys nuts as a snack. She also really likes eating nut butters on toast, as do I. So that's a common thing that I make. One of our favorite nut butters to eat is actually not a nut butter, but a seed butter. I have here some sunflower seeds, and sunflower seed butter has been a favorite of mine for a while. And especially while nursing, I have suffered from mastitis a couple of times, and sunflower lecithin is known to help relieve those symptoms. So in addition to taking sunflower lecithin, I enjoy eating sunflower butter on toast. So I'm going to be making some of my own sunflower seed butter. And I buy these nuts in bulk. I have my 2 favorite grocery stores right now are Natural Grocers and Costco. So that's where I go to buy my bulk nuts is Costco. And for the things that Costco doesn't have, I get them at Natural Grocers. So I'm going to start out with making some sunflower seed butter, and that's going to be just with sunflower seeds. And I'm noticing now that these are salted. I didn't realize that when I bought it, but that's okay. I will still use it even though they are salted. Typically, I just add a little bit of salt on my own, but since I'm noticing that these are salted, I am not going to be adding any salt into this, and that will be fine. Then for making the nut butter, I'm going to try making something that is like this nutso. I get this nutso butter at Costco, and I really, really like it. It has the creamy nut butter consistency, but added in there, it has some crunch that is from flax seeds and chia seeds and pumpkin seeds. So it seems like they fully process or fully pulverize the cashews and almonds that they use to create the base, and then they leave in some pieces of pumpkin seeds and flax seeds, chia seeds. So I'm going to do something similar to that, but with a different nut variety. I'm going to mix some almonds, these almonds that are unsalted, just plain raw almonds that I got at Costco. And I'm going to mix those with walnuts, also plain unsalted walnuts that I got at Costco. And I'm going to blend that up well to create a nut butter. And then I'm going to add in some chia seeds, not from Costco. I got these at an unmentioned store that I'm not shopping at anymore, but I bought chia seeds at Costco as well. And then I'll be adding in some pumpkin seeds, and I got these at Natural Grocers. These are unsalted, and so for this nut and seed blend that I'm going to do, I will be adding a little bit of salt in there since none of these nuts and seeds are salted. So let's get started with our sunflower seed butter, and I'll show you how I do that. I have a food processor here that comes with an insert with a smaller blade. This is a Breville food processor. It's similar to like a Cuisinart food processor, but this one has this smaller cup that I can put inside with a smaller blade so that if I'm doing a smaller quantity of something, I don't have to use the larger blade. So for the sunflower seeds, I'm going to use this smaller cup in here to mix that up. And then when I'm doing the other nut butter, I'll switch over to the larger blade. The good thing with this is that the salt mostly settled to the bottom, so if I can just avoid getting the stuff from the bottom, then this shouldn't be too salty because I was not intending to have this be too salty. So I've filled up my little cup here that's on the inside, and I'm going to go ahead and blend this until it gets smooth, and then I will show you what that looks like. So I'm pausing it just to get the ground seeds that were settling along the sides and the top, and just giving it a little bit of a stir to make sure that everything gets blended up. And then I'm going to keep that going until I get the smooth butter. I'm pausing it to show you how this changes over time. So I should have shown you what it looked like initially, but it started out as being kind of like a flour almost, where it was dry and crumbly, and now it's still crumbly, but it's starting to get a little bit more wet and sticking together, or like it'll stick to my finger and thumb if I squish it in between my thumb. So that is where we want to head to, is it's going to get more squishy and wet as the oils get released from the nuts as it's being blended. So we'll keep on this track, and I will show you again once it is buttery. Okay, it's looking good. So the amount of time that it takes will depend on your setup and the quantity of nuts or seeds that you're working with. But in this case, I have been blending this for about 8 to 10 minutes, and it has achieved that creamy consistency that I was looking for. So you can see those sunflower seeds have blended into a nice creamy sunflower seed butter. Tastes good, not too salty. I was a little worried about that because I don't like to use too much salt, but that worked out well. So I have a jar here that I'm reusing, and I'm gonna just put my sunflower seed butter in this jar, and then I will store it in the refrigerator. Look at how nice and creamy that is going into the jar here. It has been a long time since I've made my own nut butters. I used to do this all the time. I didn't buy any nut butters. I just exclusively made them myself. And now, having a toddler, life gets busy, and so I do buy store-bought nut butters, but it is nice when I have time to do this for myself. It is nice knowing what ingredients are going into it, and it's less expensive than buying the natural, like limited ingredient ones that you can buy at the store, which frequently are very pricey. Also, they typically only come in plastic unless you're buying the ultra premium version of the nut butter. And so it's a lot less waste to buy a little plastic bag of nuts and turn that into a big jar of nut butter than buying a big plastic jar of nut butter. So we've got a nice jar full, not quite full, but a nice quantity of sunflower butter here that will last us for probably a month or so, depending on what other nut butters we are going to have in our collection. But this will go in the fridge and we'll keep it in there for a month or two. Honestly, I think that it'll last in the fridge for several months, and we'll go through it before I worry about expiration. There is the first jar of our sunflower seed butter, and now I'm going to move on to making my mixed nut butter. So for my nut butter, I'm going to be making a larger quantity, so I'm going to use my large blade in my food processor, and I'm going to start with the almonds, and I'll do probably about 2 cups of almonds and another 2 cups of walnuts. And it is important not to overfill it because it will be hard to stir and get it evenly in there. So I'm going to start with that. Okay, I've been blending it for about a minute. And this is going really quick in my large size food processor here. Again, I missed showing you the kind of dry chopped up stage, and it's already taking on a wet, oily consistency in here. So it's kind of crumbly, but you can form it into a shape. So it's well on its way to where we need it to be to turn into a butter. So I'm going to keep it going. Okay, it's blended nicely. It's been only a few minutes. It really blended these really quickly, and it might have something to do with the walnut also being incorporated in there. The walnut is a very soft and oily nut, and I will say for people who don't like walnuts, you're not going to like walnut butter either. Walnuts, I want to say it's kind of like a chalky or dry kind of feeling in the mouth that walnuts can give. And so if you're putting walnuts in a nut butter, it's going to have that same kind of mouth feeling. But I really like the walnuts because I'm assuming it's because they're so oily, but also something with the texture makes it very creamy, but almost fluffy in a way where it's kind of like a frosting consistency as opposed to a sticky, gooey nut butter consistency. It's more fluffy, like frosting is what I kind of imagine it as. And in the past, I have made my own walnut butters and added in maple syrup, and then it really tasted like frosting. I'm not going to add any maple syrup in here today, but that is something that I have done in the past. I'm going to take the opportunity now to add in a little bit of salt. For this was 4 cups of nuts. I'm probably going to put about a teaspoon of salt in here. And then I'm also going to add in maybe a half a cup or so of the pumpkin seeds, and I'm going to add in maybe a 1/4 cup of the chia seeds. And now I'm just going to blend a little bit to incorporate those. And before I blend it, I'm just going to scrape the sides a little bit and I will see how this goes. Okay, and for that, I didn't do it for too long. I just wanted it for a few seconds, or maybe 10 seconds or so, to get that incorporated, because I do like that chunkiness that the nutso has. So I'm trying to duplicate that in here. Let's see. Yep, it has the crunch from the chia seeds. I didn't get completely obliterated in there. So this is what I was trying to achieve. I still see some bits of pumpkin seed in there. Show you what this looks like. You can see the different nuts and seeds in there. I'm going to get a jar and fill it up. All right, and you'll see this doesn't pour out of here quite the same way as the sunflower seed butter, and it could be because of that walnut consistency, or it could also be because I didn't blend it nearly as long. So if I blended this longer, then it might get into a more liquidy consistency, but that is not what I wanted with this. So I'm not going to try that to see what happens. I wanted this slightly chunky consistency here. And it is just sliding off of my spatula there. I also like to use my nut butters to mix in for the fat when I'm making like a muffin or cookie, instead of using oil like canola oil or some other kind of vegetable oil. I like to use the nut butter as the fat in the recipe. So I may use this when I make some oat muffins. That'll be a nice addition for the protein and fat that comes from the nuts and seeds that I put in here. I also like a snack where I just have a banana with some nut butter, and this will be great for that as well. So this made a nice big jar of nut butter. So hopefully that shows you just how easy it is to make nut butter at home if you have a food processor. It does take some time to watch it and make sure that it's doing what you want it to do, and it takes a little bit of time to clean up afterwards. So not as quick as just buying it from the store, but it is nice that you can tailor it to your specific needs and also have less waste if you are making it at home. Thank you so much for watching. I hope that you will join me again soon.